Today we're going to be doing an updated review on one of the most popular Hermes bags, one that unfortunately hasn't worked as well for me as it does for other people because trust me, I am aware that it is considered to be a holy grail by many, which is the Mini Evelyne. We're going to be discussing everything that there is to know about the Mini Evelyne and my experience owning this bag for the past, I want to say, year and a half. So if you ever toyed with the idea of picking one of these bags up, really in any size, I hope this video will help you. So without further ado, if you'd like to find out why I don't think that this particular bag is as good of an entry-level Hermes bag as people make it out to be, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. Even though I've been buying Hermes for just about a decade now, it actually took me quite a while to add this bag to my collection, and it's not because this bag has always been as difficult to get as it is now, because believe it or not, the Mini Evelyne, as most mini bags, can be a real challenge to get your hands on at Hermes. But there was a point in time when this bag I could have bought easily off the shelf, so that wasn't really the issue. I just never really felt the need to have such a basic, simple bag in my collection that happens to be a little overdone, dare I say. But last year, before I got Pi, I was like, I really need a simple, casual, no-frills bag that I can just throw on and use when I go out on a walk with Pi, when I go to the park. And because I love Hermes, I did want to have a bag from the brand that I can use and abuse and enjoy and not worry about too much. So since so many of you told me that you love the Mini Evelyne, I figured it's time to add one to my collection. So I have had this for just about a year and a half, and even though I got some use out of it at the beginning, mainly because I was testing it for you guys, so I made more of an effort to actually use it, I haven't pulled this bag out of its box in quite a few months, and there is a reason for it, which is why we are doing this updated review today. I think it is quite rare for anyone to criticize this bag. I think it is universally loved, which I can see why. I think anyone could find a use for this bag in their collections, but do you really need to do that? Do you need to force yourself to use something that you spent thousands of dollars on? I don't think that's the best way of approaching your collection and building your collection. So if you're new to Hermes, or if you've been toying with the idea of picking this bag up, I wanted to share with you my very honest review, and I'm just going to say it up front, there isn't anything inherently wrong with this bag. I understand why people love it and use it so much, but I feel like it is just a little bit basic, and I'm going to explain to you why that is. So there are some details and some features that I want you to be aware of before adding this to your collection and going on a hunt to get your hands on one of these bags in a mini size, because these have become incredibly hard to get. But without further ado, let me tell you about my particular Mini Evelyne, because this is quite a special piece. That's the reason I bought it. As you can see, it's not a black bag, which is quite rare for me to buy a bag that isn't in black. And the reason I ended up going for this instead of getting this bag in black, well, if I had the choice to go for black, I probably would have gone for that, but this was offered to me before my boutique had a black one available. So I was like, you know what? It's in a special color, it's in a special leather, one that I have always wanted to play around with, but I don't think I would really buy this leather in any other bag. So I thought that this would be the best of both worlds. It would allow me to test this leather and this bag, and it also makes it a little bit more special because this is one of Hermes's heritage leathers, but it's actually a new heritage leather that was first introduced in 2017. It's called Berinia Faubourg, and this is what I would call a contemporary heritage leather, because even though it hasn't been part of the Hermes portfolio for that long, it's actually inspired by one of the most iconic leathers that Hermes uses to this day, which is Berinia, but it's not one and the same. This is Berinia Faubourg, which has the same weight and the same density and even aroma as Berinia. It is a grain skin, whereas regular Berinia has a smooth finish to it, whereas Berinia Faubourg, as you can see, is grained. It's actually more similar. I would say it's somewhere between Clemence and Togo in terms of the grains. The grains are a little bit finer than they are on Togo and Clemence, and the leather itself is a lot heavier and it is also quite a bit more shiny, which the sheen just gets more and more enhanced over time because of this patina, which is usually associated with heritage leathers. And if you're not familiar with patina, if you don't know what it means, patina basically means that as the bag ages, it would change its color slightly, it can change the texture and even the finish. So this bag was a lot lighter when I first bought it. It was a lot more cool toned and it wasn't quite as shiny as it is now. And if you look at, for example, the corners of this piece and the places where I handle this bag the most, but I have to be honest, I have been really lucky with this bag because it's not something that I ever carry handheld. So there aren't really any features on this bag that age differently than the rest. If this was, let's say, a Birkin or a Kelly that you carry handheld, the handles would usually have a different color, they would be darker, they would have a different finish to it than the body of the bag. So there can be more of a difference if there are certain parts of the bag that you handle more than others. But when it comes to this particular piece, yes, obviously the snap closure and the corners are going to be slightly different, but there isn't as much of a difference as there would be if this was a handheld bag or if it had actual dedicated handles, or even if the strap was made of leather but it's actually made of canvas, which we'll move on to in a second. But anyway, going back to the comparison, the differences between Berinia and Berinia Faubourg, I would honestly consider them very, very different from one another. It's quite hard to compare them because they have a different finish, they have a different feel and texture to them. And the good thing about Berinia Faubourg is that it is a lot more scratch resistant than Berinia because it has this grained finish, but it is made of heritage leather, which Hermes doesn't really reach for often when it comes to the Evelyne bag, but they do play around with different finishes, different textures, and different leathers, so you can find more unique Evelynes. They have done this bag in canvas, they have done it in felt, which I think is quite a cute piece, and then every now and again you can find it in some sort of a heritage leather. And I think for the upcoming season they're also doing it with the H being finished in almost an embroidery. So the perforated edge is going to have little embroideries around each hole, which does make it a little bit more special. So, you know, you can find these pieces in more unique finishes, but it tends to be a more understated, more basic, more no frills bag. And I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about the color. So Berinia Faubourg you will more often than not find in the color Fauve, which, as I mentioned, this bag has quite a bit of patina, which not only means that the bag looks a lot more shiny than it did when I first bought it, but it is also a completely different color. When I first bought it, this bag was quite close to the Hermes color gold, whereas now it's a lot darker, a lot richer, a lot more aged. It almost has kind of an oaky finish to it, which makes it a great alternative to gold if you have always wanted to add a gold back to your collection, but you felt that it was just a little bit too common. Fauve is a great alternative. It is a neutral, but it is a little bit more warm tone, and it does go a lot darker than gold ever would, and it has almost kind of a reddish tone to it. When I last posted a picture with this earlier this week, a lot of you thought, well, some of you thought that this bag was actually red, which it's not, but it does, I can see why you would say that, because it does have a very subtle red undertone to it, which it didn't have when I first bought it. It was a warm toned, but it was a completely different color and finish too, which is a little bit deceiving. But as I mentioned, it is the smallest Evelyne that you can buy, which is the so-called EVELYNE TPM, or people also call it the Mini Evelyne, which measures 16 centimeters. But there are several different sizes of the Evelyne, and if you ever buy an Evelyne on the Preloved market, you might notice that there is also a Roman number before Evelyne. So there's Evelyne 1, 2, and 3. Currently, we are on the third generation of Evelynes, which it doesn't matter when it comes to a Mini Evelyne because there wasn't that big of a change made to the Evelyne. But when it comes to some of the larger sizes, which we'll move on to in a second, those bags now come with a pocket on the front, because believe it or not, this is the front of the bag and this is the bag, contrary to popular belief, but this is the part that should be facing you, and this is the front of the bag. But on the newer, larger Evelynes, there is a pocket on the front here, and they do come with an adjustable shoulder strap, but that wasn't the case on the previous generations, and it's still not the case on the Mini Evelyne. I'm not exactly sure why that is, but as you can see, this doesn't come with an external pocket, and the strap isn't adjustable either, unfortunately. But if you're wondering, the Evelyne does come in 4 different sizes, including the Mini. The next size up is the Evelyne PM, which measures 29 centimeters. Then you have the Evelyne GM, which is 33 centimeters, and then the largest Evelyne, which is, I would say that it's more rare than even the Mini Evelyne. It's called the TGM, which measures 40 centimeters. Now, don't ask me why the naming is so confusing, because usually Hermes would go from PM through MM to GM, but there isn't actually an MM when it comes to the Evelyne, which I think is kind of a shame. And I wasn't the one who came up with this. It was one of you guys who planted this seed in my head when I first talked about this bag. I remember it was Athena, one of my original subscribers. If you're watching, Athena, thank you so much for this idea, because I never got this out of my head. But she was the one who mentioned that there really should be a size between the TPM and then the PM, because this measures 16 centimeters and then the next size up is 29 centimeters, which I think is a huge jump. And there really is a huge gap there for a bag size that could be in between, because I think one of the reasons I have not been carrying this bag is that it is just a little bit too small on me with my proportions. I think it's not really even the size, but it's more the shape. It just looks a little out of place. Whereas when it comes to the larger sizes, they're just way too big for me to carry on a daily basis. And I really wish there was a size in between. Like, I think, you know, an Evelyne 22 would be perfect, but there isn't one, at least not right now. I really hope that one day Hermes will realize that there is a little bit of a gap there that they could bridge with a new bag size being introduced. But currently, the jump from a 16 to a 29 is just way too big for my liking. But in case you're interested, there are several different sizes of the Evelyne, the Mini Evelyne being the most popular. And then I feel like the toughest one to get would be the 40, and that's not because there is that much of a demand for it, but purely because they don't make that much of them these days. And in case you're wondering about the price, the mini size starts at just under $2,000. Obviously, it depends on the leather that you pick it up in, but they usually start around $1,800-$1,900, and then they are obviously slightly more expensive when they are made of heritage leather. But you know, for an Hermes bag, they are kind of reasonably priced. I mean, I still think that it is a lot of money to spend on such a simple bag. A bag that was really designed as an alternative to a gym bag, because believe it or not, these bags were first designed for equestrian to carry all their essentials to the stable, which is actually why you have this perforated H detail here, because other than this bag is really simple. As I mentioned, it's a no frills bag. There are no decorative elements. There is no hardware to this bag. It's just a really simple, laid back, casual, hassle-free bag. The only detail that you have on this is the snap closure, which is again super simple, and then you have this perforated H, which actually has a function to it. So as this bag was designed for equestrians to carry to the stable, they wanted to make sure that if an equestrian threw their sweaty helmet or a sweaty shirt in here, it wouldn't make the bag go smelly, and they wanted to make sure that the bag can air properly. So they created this perforated H detail, which was supposed to help the bag have better air circulation, as most gym bags do. So I'm not exactly sure who came up with the idea to have the H facing outward, but they were a trendsetter, because now almost everyone, even Hermes, styles the bag with the H facing out. But if you want to have really easy access to your bag, carrying it this way still makes it a lot easier, because the snap closure is here, and when you have this facing outward, it can be quite tough getting a hold of that little snap button on the back. But the bag is as simple on the inside as it is on the outside. There's no lining to it. There are no pockets on the inside unless you buy an insert, which I would recommend buying an insert. I do have a 7RP insert in all of my bags, including my Mini Evelyne. especially because this bag is so terribly difficult to organize. If you want to use and really enjoy this bag, I would suggest getting an insert, because if you don't have one in here, first of all, the bag will collapse in on itself. It will really quickly lose its structure, especially if you pick it up in a grained leather, and most things will fall to the bottom of the bag, and it will be tough to find anything in this, especially if you pick this bag up in a larger size. So the reason I love the 7RP inserts, because it has so many details to it. It has some integrated pockets in there, and it even has an embedded card holder, so it does have dedicated card slots that you can take advantage of, which is not only great because it helps to keep your bag a lot more organized, but it saves you some space because you don't actually have to carry a dedicated card holder. Instead, you can just slide your cards into the insert itself. Not to mention that if you're going to have the edge facing outward, you can make your bag a little bit more fun because your insert will show through. So you can either go for an insert that perfectly matches the body of the bag, or you can go for an insert that is in a different color, as I did. So my insert is in, I think this is in the color Blue Brum, which actually shows through when I have the insert in my bag. So this is definitely something that you can play around with. I think it's quite fun, especially if you have this bag in a more muted tone. If you want to play around with it, if you'd like to make it a little bit more fun and playful, which this bag can definitely take it, that's definitely something that you could take advantage of, getting an insert in a fun pop of color. Now, I currently don't have a discount code with 7RP, but I'm going to try to email them before this video goes live, and if I can get one for you. I'm not sure if they're able to give me one, and if they can, how long it's going to last, but if they can, I will make sure to have it linked up on the screen here, which hopefully you can use on any one of their inserts. You guys know that I love 7RP inserts. They are insanely expensive, but you are paying for the quality, especially if you know that you love the Evelyne and you are planning on picking it up in different sizes and different colors. Investing in a great quality insert will go a really long way, not only because it will help to support your bag from the inside out and it will make it last longer, but it will also make the user experience a lot more elevated, just because on the inside these bags are quite simple, considering that there isn't even a lining to these bags. But I mean, they're beautifully done. But regardless, if you want to take advantage of these bags, I think an insert can really help. But now that you know that the bag is simple on the outside, simple on the inside, what this will do for your collection, what this will do for you isn't a lot more either. It genuinely is a really casual, relaxed, functional bag. If you're looking for a bag for running errands, if you're looking for a travel bag, this you can certainly look into. I mean, the TPM I wouldn't necessarily use for traveling, not as a travel bag, but picking it up in a larger size. I think you could enjoy that specifically for traveling because it's light, it's easy, it's simple, it's a no-brainer, but you do have to keep in mind that it is kind of open. Obviously, an insert will help and then closing your bag, but you have to keep in mind that there is no zip to this bag, there isn't a proper magnet fastening, so you can reach into this bag quite easily, but so can other people. So that's just something for you to keep in mind, but don't expect this to add anything to an outfit or to your collection, which is the reason why I don't think that this particular bag is a great entry-level bag. I don't think that this is really representative of what an Hermes bag is able to do for you. This is not a bag that you'll be able to dress up. It's not something that will add any value to your collection. It won't take away from an outfit, but it won't really add anything. And I know that some people love playing around with them and they dress it up with twillies and charms and putting rodeos on these bags, but I really think it's going to be an uphill battle because this is not a bag that is sophisticated in any shape or form. Can you style it well with a casual outfit? 1000%, but if you're expecting this bag to change your life and for it to look like a really refined, elegant, sophisticated bag, this bag is not the one for you. There's no way of styling it with anything more formal, more refined, or more sophisticated. I think you can really, the most that you can do with this bag, I think just wearing it with a pair of jeans and a simple t-shirt is the best way of doing it. You can of course do it with a travel set or a lounge set, but other than that, it's certainly not something that I would suggest wearing with a dress or even with any sort of tailoring pieces, which it's not what this bag is meant to do, but I have heard people say online that this is a holy grail bag that will do everything and more for you, which is just not the case in my opinion. I think it will be quite tough for you to try to dress up this bag, and I don't really think it's possible. Now I have seen some people replace this strap with a twilly, which wasn't the worst thing I have ever seen, but it didn't really work. I think the shape, it does go well with this so-called woolly canvas strap, which is usually an adjustable strap on most Evelynes. It's not on a Mini Evelyne, which I don't understand why that is, because the strap on this bag is insanely long. It's even too long on me, and I'm 5'11", and I usually struggle with the traditional 85 centimeter straps that, let's say, Kelly bags come with, but the strap on this is quite long. I have never measured exactly how long it is, but I'll try to remember to do it, and if I have the time to do that before this video goes live, I'll make sure to leave the measurement up on the screen here. So you can buy straps for this bag from Hermes in different colors. I'm personally not the biggest fan of those really colorful straps with the patterns to them that Hermes sells for thousands of dollars. You can buy replacement straps from third-party sellers online, but what you can do if you don't want to buy an additional strap, you can actually just put a knot on the original strap that your Evelyne comes with, which makes it the perfect length for me. Now if you wanted to make it even shorter, I'm not exactly sure what you would do. It might annoy you, and if it does, if you're looking for a cleaner look, you can buy, I'll try to link some really simple straps that you can buy online, not directly from Hermes, but if you want an Hermes strap on your Evelyne, you can buy some more fun, funky canvas straps from Hermes, but it is going to cost you. And then I have seen some people turn their twillies into a strap, which is cute, but do keep in mind that it will not make your bag any more elegant. Long story short, would I recommend this bag? I feel like if you know what you're getting yourself into, if you're genuinely just looking for a really simple, laid-back, casual bag for running errands, for it to just be a workhorse basic bag, it will do the trick, but it really won't add anything unique or special to your collection. Don't get me wrong, they are nicely made, they come in some beautiful shades, but they are nothing more than a take on a really basic gym bag. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of what you're actually buying and you're not thinking that it is going to be life-changing. But I would love to know your thoughts and your experience. Do you own this bag? If you do, please share your review in the comment section with us. I cannot wait to hear what you think. And while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I cannot wait to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.